we have been very lucky on filmishilmy.com that we've had some amazing filmmakers on our platform. And the filmmaker I am joined by today is one such talent. And we've had him previously as well for his film, which premiered at the BFI London Film Festival, which was Faraaz. And now we're celebrating the release of his film, Buckingham Murders. And that is, of course, the national award winner, multi award winner, can I say, Hansal Mehta. So thank you so much, Hansal, sir, for joining us. It's always wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Anuj. Always wonderful talking to you.
Okay. Well, look, I think the Buckingham Murders, as I mentioned to you as well when we spoke, that I actually found it second time much better, actually, because I watched it last year at the film festival when it premiered. But the way you made it, I mean, it was very gutsy and it was very relatable, I think, for us Brits, especially the NRIs living abroad. What really evoked this decision of yours to really take up the backdrop, especially of Leicester, because it was a horrible, horrible thing that happened, and make a sort of suspense whodunit kind of a venture with this?
Um, I think, for me, no film is just a murder mystery or a whodunit or a comedy or a drama. Everything has a backdrop. Everything has a socio-economic, uh, interpersonal dynamic that it must reflect, because all the movement of the screenplay is driven by the world that you create. And I think a lot of what you see is because of Buckingham Murders is what it is because of the and frankly that excites me more, that world, creating that world, delving into that world, and through that exploring these stories. So when the story came to me, Asim Arora gave me the story in 2018. When he gave me the story, I saw it more less as a whodunit and more as something that will allow me to explore life in UK. So, I've had my sister lived here for nearly 20 years in UK. I've spent a lot of time out of the country, and as an Asian, then as an Indian living abroad, whether it's UK, USA, or say Australia, Fiji, there's a experience of those who you call the other, the displaced, the migrant. There's an experience that I've seen, I've observed, which I observe even now when I come here, when I spend time with my friends here. And I think what you see in the film is a reflection of that. And there's no other way I know how to make films, Anuj. You know, if I'm making a film in London, it's not going to be that film which is made simply because there is a attractive tax cut or a rebate that the government is offering. I will make it because I refuse to spend my time making something that is mm, uh, not made for reasons other than uh, storytelling
Hmm.
anymore. For the past 14 years, I have tried not to do that. You can fail, you can succeed, you can do whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is that how do you how much are you immersed in it, and what uh, are you trying to do? Did you try at least? And I think that was the opportunity here to make something that was quintessentially uh, a new age kind of diaspora film.
Hmm. I'm glad you've mentioned this word diaspora because I think what I'm seeing nowadays, especially जो लंदन में films बन रही है खास करके, um, even in Europe generally, if we look at it, there's films which do not just celebrate a very escapist perspective of NRIs. It's now not about the Western dream. It's actually delving into the harsh realities. Like last year we had Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. Even Donkey, for that same matter, kind of does that even more, even though it's more on a mainstream commercial level, but it also really delves into the real hardship that, Indian migrants face or South Asian migrants face whilst trying to venture into the UK. What do you think has really sort of evoked this specific trend, I think, in cinema. I don't think trend's the right word, but this particular trope, if I may say so, because I feel like it's a much of a need of the hour.
Yeah, I mean, it in a way you can call it, from poo to just. So, Pooh was also in London, and that was, it's sort of really, if you put those two images next to each other, Kareena in K3G and Kareena in the Buckingham Murders. It tells you about the evolution of the way we tell our stories now. And, our stories evolve because audiences evolve, because audiences grow.
Hmm. And
And I
I'm
think
glad.
it's a sign of slightly, of us, uh, at least of me as a filmmaker, trusting the audiences more. Okay, the path is going to be difficult and untrodden because you don't know how people will respond to it. But at least you're giving them something new, and that experience in the long run will encourage more such storytelling.
Hmm. I'm glad you mentioned From Pooh to Jazz because it's quite ironic because when I went to see the Buckingham Murders on Friday, I actually watched K3G afterwards because they had re-released that. And to see Bebo from what she played in Buckingham Murders to then, I mean, the journey has been immense. I'm gonna come back to Bebo in just shortly because I really would like to explore this whole concept that you've had in your films and your contents rather as about grieving mothers and the pain that mothers go through. When I saw Jas in Buckingham Murders, it immediately reminded me so much in I don't know why, but of Juhi Babbar's character in Faraz.
Faraz.
And then instantly I watched Scoop. And then it also reminded me of what Karishma Tanna went through because she was also playing a mother who gets sentenced to jail in that series. So when you are telling that story, the lens, especially of a mother, when it comes to that personality trait, what experiences does a filmmaker delve into?
Well, you said it. The closest relationship I've had in my life, and that I will probably have in my life, is has been with my mother. So somewhere I feel that so the mother has played a very important part in most of the work I've done. If you look at Shahid also, his
Hmm.
relationship with his mother is explored in a particular manner. So various facets of the mother-child relationship always sort of, uh, I mean, they appeal to me, to my sensibilities as a filmmaker. I find that the exploration of motherhood, uh, eh, I find that interesting, and I find it something I like to do. Uh, and then grief, like in Buckingham Murders, there was this. Uh, we make grief very external, that you're crying, you're whining, and the manifestation is in very physical things. But the truth is, when you grieve, you're very quiet. It's all happening within you. The volcano is erupting within you, and a sensitive person can see it in your eyes. And I think that Kareena brought that to this character. It's the way I thought of the character and what Kareena brought to it. I think that is, the real sort of physical appearance of grief, as it, if you can call it that. Uh, that that you see in this film. And I mean, for me, grief is something, you're grieving all the time. You find ways and means of coping with grief.
Hmm.
And here the who done it and something that is a parallel to her life becomes that means.
Hmm.
So I like to explore it. So like in Aligarh, I explored loneliness, for example.
Yeah.
Even in my story in Modern Love, you look at the mothers.
Hmm.
The mother is such a strong character in that. Her acceptance of the mother, the grandmother. So the mothers are so important characters. Their acceptance and understanding of the character's sexuality
Hmm.
is so integral to the storytelling. The storytelling is driven around that. So uh, I think somewhere you've hit the nail on the head. That yeah, I delve into motherhood,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it is a pet theme for me.
Right. I think definitely. I mean, it was very beautiful. But I think you said external, but I actually found there was a lot of internal emotions that we saw. I mean, for me, I think what really stood out was Karina's reaction in the beginning part of the film, where the murderers of her child have been convicted and the police are taking them out, and then suddenly she has this outburst. I mean, since I saw that, I was like, you know what? She really has completely changed the game. And what I really liked is that she wasn't trying to do a performance. कुछ कभी कभार ऐसा कुछ होता है कि अगर एक बड़ा स्टार एक ऐसी चीज करता है जो या करती है जो एक कमर्शियल फिल्म नहीं है, तो it's almost becoming a way to prove a point of them as actors. Whereas with Bebo, there was none of that pretentiousness at all. She really molded herself into this character. I think, with someone who, like Bebo, who is obviously very much in tune, she's very aware as an actor, that must definitely make your life a bit easier as a filmmaker, I'm sure, because she got,
Totally,
right?
totally. So when I had the first meeting with her, and we spoke about her as an actor when we. So I told her, I said, the film that really had an impact on me, her one performance that had an impact on me was a lesser watched film called Dev.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was it was her, Fardeen Khan, Amit Ji, Om
Mm,
Puri. It was made by Govind Nihalani. Now that film, her performance, there was a moment in that film where she's supposed to point out the people who had instigated riots in her, in that community that she lives in, and that performance really stayed with me. There was a quietness. She just walked quietly and slowly, very softly pointed out to the people. She's been repressed all this while. So it was an incredible performance, and it's unfortunately the film hasn't been watched enough for people to appreciate that at a young age, Yaar was somebody who had the potential to become one of India's finest actors.
mm,
So what happens very often with actors, with stars who take on acting, after a certain age, is that they try very hard to show their acting chops.
yes.
It's almost insecure. So you want it to be physical, you want dialogues, you want things that you rely on external crutches. You rely on breaking into a different dialect. uh, a lot of physical things you rely on. And Karina somehow, I found her very secure,
Mm,
that she did what the scene needed, she did what the moment needed, she did what the script uh, required, what the film required, and nothing more, nothing less.
mm,
And that happens when you're very secure, when you are uh, you've made a choice and you're sticking to the choice with your complete conviction and belief.
mm. Absolutely. And I think she really, honestly, like for one moment, I actually forgot it was actually Kareena Kapoor Khan on screen. Like she molded herself so well into the character, and it was honestly really mind blowing. I absolutely loved that. I want to talk a bit more about the context of Buckingham Murders, as I'd asked you in my first question, where you used the backdrop of Leicester, which was quite a very interesting decision. And also, I think if we look at the disappearance of the boy. There's been so many cases actually in London where, or in UK rather, where a teenage boy has either been killed and he's of Indian origin or he's gone missing. What were some of the cases that you sort of researched, if at all, for this film, and why did that really stick with you out of all the other really messed up stories out there when it comes to the diaspora in UK?
Well, when the story was written, I think it was based on research that Asim had done. He had read something, and I found that powerful. Also, there's been this. There was in between a very big number of kids who were adopted from uh, India, brought here by Indian parents, and then later on found dead or missing, and then the parents claiming insurance later. I mean, they've been. I read a lot about that, and I found that but that was uh, that is just taking that real life thing and putting it into a film. I thought that was a good starting point. A
Mm,
good starting point, and then as the script developed, I think we just kept finding more and more to delve into. Asim, and then later on Raghav, Takkad, and Kashyap Kapoor. They came on, and all three of them, I think, somewhere brought in a lot of uh, emotional and social depth to what we were trying to say, without it becoming heavy on the pace and the entire element of movement in the screenplay.
mm. I think also the fact that you've got some amazing talents from UK, some of the South Asian actors. I mean, comes first to my mind, who played Saqib. I think he was
Yeah,
fantastic. There was
yeah.
some really amazing, amazing talents. Ruchika was also there. So many good talents, and I'm forgetting all their names. So
No, Ash Tandon,
Ash
who
Tandon was
plays Hardy.
amazing.
Yeah,
He was
he's so good.
fantastic as Hardy. He was
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, there's so many good talents you've
There's
got.
Manish Gandhi,
Yes,
Manish
Rahul
Gandhi plays Prithvi. Yeah. Then
and Rahul.
Rahul Sidhu who plays Naved. I thought, personally, it's a performance I really, really like. And you have Asad Raja who plays, uh, Kapil's father.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they were all, and of course you had Ranveer Brar and Prableen,
I
who
mean,
was so
Ranveer
good.
was a huge surprise. I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
I was incredibly, I was like, जो chops बनाते हैं उनका acting chops भी बढ़िया है. मैं बहुत surprised हो गया था वो
very
देख
very bad joke, very bad joke.
Don't include it in one of your films. No, but I think it was really impressive, huh? Like seriously, I was genuinely so pleased with the talents. I think if we could also talk about the what you were scouting for in the local talents here, and then also maybe talk about Ranveer, because I think I was extremely taken aback by his performance, even second time round as well, actually.
So, I'll talk about the casting, the entire process. Like when the film came to me, one of the things I was very clear about is that I'm going to make this film with a all British crew. That the people will be of British origin, and I want to represent Britain in its diversity. When you come to England, when you come to UK, you realize that there's a lot of diversity. It's not just Asians. There are colored people, different races, different nationalities, all kinds of people sort of come together. It's such a melting pot in that sense, and yet they everybody's so different and yet so equal. That kind of a it's a very unique kind of diversity that England possesses. So I wanted to tap into that. So whether it was in the selecting the crew, so my so, and I also wanted more females uh, on the crew. So
Hmm.
whether it was my director of photography Emma Dalesman, my production designer May Davies, or the costume designer Charlie Knight, all women and all British. Their teams were entirely British. There would be one or two persons, who we got from India to help them with, say, Kareena or with Ranveer and Prableen.
Hmm.
But otherwise, a lot of the crew, I think more than 80% of the crew was from here. The gaffer was a British woman, Adele. So it was really incredible to work with a lot of them. A lot of them were Asians, British Asians who worked on the film. And then when it came to casting, I told Mukesh Chabra, who's my partner in crime for most of the work I've done. I told him that I want authentic people. I want to cast people from UK. I don't want to cast people from India, except perhaps, of course, Kareena was there, and the couple also we looked at auditions in UK, but then suddenly one day we were talking and said, what about Ranveer Brar?
Hmm.
And we had cast him in Modern Love before this,
Yes.
but in a very different role. And I felt that he had that potential. I needed to tap into it. And then Ranveer came on. I mean, Ranveer is otherwise a very busy chef. He's got a restaurant in Dubai, a very, very successful restaurant now in Dubai, one of the finest there.
Hmm.
He's on YouTube all the time, making different recipes, and on Instagram, making his reels, cracking his food jokes. कि रणवीर आपने बताया नहीं. So I was a bit apprehensive whether he would give us that much time, but he stayed for most part of the shoot in UK. Even when he was not shooting, he would be there, and we were blessed. He cooked for us, so it was a double whammy as far as Ranveer was concerned. And Prableen is somebody who worked with me in Shahid. She was the lead uh, alongside Rajkumar in Shahid.
Hmm.
She played his wife in that film. So Prableen again, I felt I had not used her after that. I had not worked with her again, but very fine actor. So
Hmm.
I asked Prableen. She happened to be in London for another shoot. She's producing a film
Oh, wow.
in in London at that time. So I was lucky. I said, don't fly back to India. Wait here. So yeah, so it was a film called Brown Monday, I think. so, so she was shooting that, and then we got a casting director from UK, Shakira Dowling,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
to sort of help us with the British cast. She in fact even worked on my next project, Gandhi,
Hmm.
which has so many British cast members. So she got in. I mean, she introduced us to Ash and Keith Allen, who plays Miller,
Hmm.
Darren, who plays Simon, Aduva, who plays Sharon. She got us to meet all these phenomenal people and actors.
Hmm.
And we went through a long auditioning process, but I think I'm very happy with the ensemble we managed to get. They've all performed really well. I'll tell you, a friend of mine, an actor friend of mine, called me and said it is what is most. He loved the film, and he said what is most refreshing is to see the way the international talent has been directed.
Yeah, true.
He said that otherwise in the Indian director's film, usually you have the international talent acting differently,
Hmm.
as if they're acting for camera. As if they are in some sort of a almost as if they're in some taking part in some sort of a exotic spectacle.
True. That is very true.
So here they belong to the scene. It's very real. Their performances are also very, very real. So I mean that's something I've been hearing a lot from people, because that how authentic and real the international cast is. And yeah, I think I have Shakira to thank a great deal for introducing me to such phenomenal people. When I got Keith Allen back for Gandhi also after that. I enjoyed working with him so much.
Hmm. Why do you think that it's taken a while for a crossover like this to really strengthen? Because I feel like that there's so much scope for collaboration, but I feel like it's just been brushed under the carpet for some reason. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because it's market forces. We sort of pre-decide what our market is. We
Right.
pre-decide who we are making the film for. So there's a lot of resistance in the bargain that you know who will watch an English film, because there's so much English in the film, and the characters have to speak English when required, because they're in England. They cannot be all speaking in Hindi, in chaste Hindi.
Hmm.
So that there's an apprehension about how much that will travel wide enough,
Hmm.
particularly in India, because you make these films and you release them like conventional Hindi films. So, as if you release them conventionally, there is a risk that you perceive. But I'm glad to report that in India, the version, like we released two versions because we thought that maybe a
Hmm.
Hindi version might be required for a wider audience. But what has really happened is that English. The censor board, the CBFC, this the Board of Film Certification, has classified the film as English.
Nice.
They classified it. They gave that term. It's a new language altogether, English, which people have been using that term colloquially for years.
Hmm.
So this time it's on a certificate. It's on a censor certificate, and the English version is the one that is most widely watched.
Hmm.
It's the one that audiences are enjoying. In fact, somebody from Kanpur wrote to me that I don't have an English version in my city, and he was very pissed
Hmm.
about it. And it just tells you that the audience is ready. We are not ready to give them what they want. That we are not ready to give them enough new, new kind of stories and storytelling.
I'm glad you mentioned this actually because I was thinking this. In fact, just the other day I tweeted this because I feel like what's happened, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's amazing to see the re-releases, like to revisit like old films that I've grown up watching and to love that sort of classic Bollywood Hindi cinema experience is fantastic. But the fact that apne vadare e chhe and there's lesser newer releases, it's just going to show that there does seem to be a bit of a dysfunction between what the audiences want and what films are getting out there, right?
I think just, it's not as grave as it is. This whole gap of releases is not as grave. This is a period in which people don't normally release films. Also, the Shraddh Paksh begins tomorrow. So that traditionally that people don't release films in that period, and a lot of don't start anything new. So
Hmm.
our industry is driven by so many old, mm, you know, beliefs,
Hmm.
belief systems. But I think this gap uh, is just it's very temporary. It's going to come October again. The big films, the releases, they're all going to start. I just feel that in this gap, it's good that a film like Buckingham Murders has found an audience.
It has,
It
yeah.
has it has found its audience. From what I hear from the distributors, the business has been very encouraging. It's for a film that is considered niche. It's got a very wide audience. Of course, it's the power of Kareena also, but it's got an audience for itself. And a film like Tumbad has finally found an audience.
Even Laila Majnu did as well, actually.
Laila
Yeah.
Laila Majnu did well. So films that sometimes get lost because of the bigger films uh, have found their place here, and which is very healthy.
Hmm.
It's a very healthy trend. Given a chance, I told one distributor that why don't we re-release Ometa?
Right. But I want to talk about beliefs, which was what you just mentioned here, because I think there is a very important strand in the Buckingham murders, which is sort of towards the LGBTQIA centric sort of sphere. I don't want to say exactly what and why because I do want people to watch the film, but I think it's important for us to highlight as a question here. Um, I think it was very bold and I think it was very brave. I wouldn't say bold actually, I'd say more brave for you. And you've definitely been an ally of the community for sure. For throughout the years. I mean, be it a film like Aligarh, be it of course Modern Love, and now of course this film as well. For you, it's always been about sensitivity when addressing the LGBTQIA community when representing same-sex relationships. You've often not glorified the trauma, but at the same time, you've given a sense of hope to the community. How important has sensitive portrayal been for you throughout these years, whenever you've decided to show it on the screen?
I have not. I don't know any other way. So I don't even think about it. That am I being sensitive? I don't even question myself because it comes naturally to me. You know, to represent to represent love. Why does it need you to be specially sensitive?
Mm,
Love is a universal emotion. It is and has always been free of your gender. It has been free of the love that you have for uh, your dog. So I mean, it's the love that you have for your partner. I mean, that where does gender and race and all that even come in? So I find that, a very, I don't, I don't see myself as an ally or for or against, because I mean, I believe that all those who oppose same-sex relationships don't understand love.
Hmm. Correct. No, very, very well said. And I think that's the beautiful thing. But I think also I want to go back to the casting part again as well, because I feel like you've always had this tendency to really bring known actors, actors who are popular, who have been in the public domain, but extrapolate very distinct strands about them as individuals. And I think that's, for example, if Kareena is a good point, Karishma Tanna is a very good example in Scoop. What is it that you look out for in these actors? Is there a sense of vulnerability that you see in them, or maybe their ability to really delve into a very dark space, but yet manage to overcome it after once you say cut? Is it what is it that you actually look out for in these
I don't
main?
know. I don't know, Anuj. If I ever analyze what I look for, I think I start failing because it's very instinctive. It's very instinctive. You work on a script, you read the script over and over again,
Hmm,
and then somebody comes in front of you, and
hmm,
you say, okay, this is the person. And it's been that way forever. When I found Rajkumar Rao for Shahid, it was instinctive. He came, he met me, I looked at him, I said, yeah, you are Shahid.
hmm,
And that's it. It sort of began a relationship that lasted 6 films.
hmm,
uh, you know so it's all it's very instinctive, it's very organic. When it was even to cast Manoj Bajpayee, I didn't see him initially in that part, but when Mukesh told me, Chabra, when he told me about casting Manoj in Aligarh, it was instinctive.
hmm.
Similarly, I mean, Karishma Tanna, like, that was at one place when Mukesh and me did not fight or argue at all. There
Oh
were
wow.
some 30 to 40 auditions that had come, and I was looking at the audition, and then Karishma's audition came in, and I stopped the audition. I called Mukesh. I called Mukesh, and Mukesh said, Karishma, na? As if he had a camera in my house.
Nice.
I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Matlab, there's something about her. Bola, हाँ, audition is not the best audition that you can think of,
Hmm,
because auditions can be misleading. So I don't look for performance or anything. I just look for the person and their relationship with the camera at that moment, how
hmm,
comfortable they are in what they are doing.
hmm,
And I searching for my character there. So it was instinctive. I said Karishma. Luckily, I called Netflix. Netflix also agreed to it. They said yes, Karishma is good, and it was not a battle, unlike what people think. It's just a battle of our very fixed mindset.
hmm,
That we believe that, oh, nahi, Karishma is a why is Karishma Tanna called a brave choice? When somebody is talented, when somebody deserves to get a chance to show their talent,
hmm,
then why is my choice considered brave? I think it's just a good choice,
hmm,
of actor. And she deserved this opportunity much earlier.
hmm.
But yeah, every opportunity has a time.
Right.
It has a timestamp. I got scammed 1992 after nearly making films for 20 years.
Hmm. And
You
gosh,
know,
that was an absolute revolution, honestly.
yeah,
Especially
and
it
and
wasn't.
there Pratik Gandhi was such an instinctive choice. Uh, I saw a trailer of Wrong Side Raju,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I told Samir Nair, I said, I think he's the Harshad Mehta. And they saw the trailer with me, and they said, yeah, you're right, and that was it. And then the rest is history.
Hmm. And also Pratik is also such a well-known established actor in Gujarati cinema as well. So for him to really get an opportunity, because that's also another pet peeve that I have sometimes, is that we get actors from non-Hindi languages, right? Sometimes, and they're not really. I mean, I'm not going to talk about South here because I think the South and the Hindi collaborations have always existed, and there's always been titles which have done them justice to the superstars. But I think with Gujarati, for example, there's always been actors where they've not got that opportunity to shine. I mean, even if you think about Pratik's role, his initial first Hindi role, I mean, it was not as solid as what he got in Harshad Mehta, and I think that is a big testament. But again, do you think that mindset is also changing now? Because of the fact that,
Still,
we are, yeah,
still some time. I think somewhere the blame lies within us Gujaratis. We don't value ourselves enough.
yes, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
We don't value ourselves enough. We have been an integral part of the creative industry for decades, but we don't recognize that. We sort of follow this whole North Indian bandwagon. We want to belong to that.
Hmm.
So I don't believe in that kind of divide, but I do feel as a Gujarati sometimes that why are we why when I narrate a story which is set in Gujarat, a very mainstream action film, the first thing that I heard from the producer is that conventionally this has to be, if it's short set in the north, it will be mass. If it's set in Gujarat, it's not. It's going to have a limited audience.
Hmm.
I mean, come on, we need to change that. And I told him, I said, but Scam was seen by the entire country. You know, Pratik Gandhi became a phenomenon around the country. He says, no, but they still doubt it. Why that doubt?
Yeah.
If you can make 100 films set in the north, why can't you take a chance on 4 films? I said, why? What about Bhansali? What about Ram Leela? What about Gangubai Kathiawadi? Those films did well, didn't they? So why are we still running away from the fact that a film can be set in a culture that is not necessarily nothing? Well, the industry has been dominated by a lot of people from across the border. People who migrated to India
Hmm.
to by Punjabis and
Hmm.
Sindhis. But that doesn't mean, I mean, there were equal number of people from Gujarat who participated in the business. I mean, you had Sanjeev Kumar in the past,
Yeah.
uh, you know. So
Totally.
it's and I mean he became Sanjeev Kumar. He's Sanjeev Haribhai Zariwala.
Hmm.
That was his real name, but his you don't his surname he had to give up his surname, so Kumar became like generic. So people didn't see him as a Gujarati. So it's unfortunate.
Hmm.
It's unfortunate. The most iconic, I mean, Ravan was Arvind Trivedi, you know, in Ramayana. So we've had Gujarati actors constantly being successful. We've had Gujarati filmmakers. You have Sanjay Leela Bhansali, Vipul Shah, all of them.
Ketan Mehta also.
Ketan Mehta. Ketan Mehta is like an icon.
Hmm.
His, Bhavani Bhavai and Mirch Masala, they're iconic films. So we've had Kundan Shah,
Hmm.
another Gujarati. We've had some iconic filmmakers who have been, from who've been Gujaratis,
Yeah.
and yet we, as Gujaratis shy away. We cave into the pressure of not telling our stories. So I'll tell you, there's a film that came to me sometime back,
Hmm.
which is being made now
Hmm.
uh, with two young stars,
Okay.
and it was offered to me, and my first reaction was that we'll set this in Ahmedabad. And the producer had pre-decided that this will be set in Amritsar. So I said, let's make it in Ahmedabad.
Hmm.
Why not Ahmedabad? Why make it there? And we have this interesting dynamic between the characters, because uh, Ahmedabad is like any other metropolitan city.
Hmm.
It's like Delhi or anywhere. So why not set it there? But I mean, I think I didn't get the film because of my choice of setting.
Hmm. Yeah. It's
I mean, I don't regret it, but I'm just saying that, and whoever is making it right now, all the best. I think he'll make a good film. But, this resistance is something that really uh, makes me, it makes me sad.
hmm.
And you look at, Amir Khan, what is his initial training? Gujarati theatre. He was part of Khelaiya, which was a Gujarati play directed by Mahendra Joshi. They're all students of Mahendra Joshi, you know. So, I mean, there's a rich heritage of, literature, writing,
Hmm.
of performing arts that Gujarat has, you know. And I mean, sorry, I'm going on this big rant on this, but it's something that really troubles me. I do my best to tell our stories, to tell stories of the world that I have inhabited. That's why Scoop was such a family drama. You know,
Hmm.
that house in which Karishma lives, all the actors were in it. And I mean, you will see when Gandhi comes out, it is a quintessential Gujarati family drama.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you know what? I was going to save Gandhi until later, and I'm going to come back to that actually just
Yeah.
shortly. But I'm going to come back to the actors again because I'm very curious to know. And I think it's always very fascinating to see what trick you have up your sleeve when it comes to the actor selection. Is there one artist that you're yearning to work with? And who would that be and why?
I think it's just driven by the script,
Hmm.
driven by. Uh, so I'll tell you this much: my daughters are yearning for me to work with another Gujarati actor,
Oh,
partly Gujarati at least.
oh,
Guess who?
okay. Partly Gujarati. I was going to say Tiger Shroff.
Yeah,
Is it actually Tiger Shroff?
yeah.
अरे वाह
My daughters are absolutely uh, huge fans of Tiger Shroff and keep pushing me that we you have to make my daughter is ready to take a gap year if I make a film with Tiger Shroff.
Wow. But do you know, I'm glad they've actually said this though. I'll tell you why. Because I mean, I saw War and I saw him as the antagonist in that, and I was like, I have always felt like he's always had this very untapped potential in him as an actor.
I
People, I
think he
think,
needs to recognize that.
yeah, he's really good. I would
He
love to
needs to
see
be
him.
aware of it. I think that's the thing. Like coming back to Kareena in that sense. So
Hmm,
Kareena was aware of this fact that she wants to explore her acting potential. So I think that willingness has to come from the actor. So to answer the question, who am I yearning to work with? With somebody who is yearning to perform, somebody who's yearning to show the world that he can act, that he can play a character, he or she. And so
hmm,
I'm yearning to work with somebody with that hunger.
hmm.
I look for people who have the hunger to take their work beyond what they have been doing, to
Sure.
break the stereotypes, to subvert their own uh, ideas about themselves. So that subversion is something uh, that's what I keep doing with my work also. I mean, it's always risky, but I keep doing that.
Hmm. But I also feel like, when you have ventured into the slightly comedic genre, there's one film that you did, Simran, that you did, and then there's another film called Chalang that you did. I felt like they were good films, but somehow they seemed a little disconnected with the comedy and the dark aspect. Do you feel like you're yet to master this genre of comedy? Because it seems like the darkness really outpowers the humor in the films as well.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. I think somebody asked me this question, and one genre that I'm yearning to do is an out and out comedy, and I
Mm,
think I can do it well. Complete nonsense. I want a film that is completely, out and out fun, and maybe a marital comedy, maybe an adult comedy, uh, anything. I yearn to do the David Dhawan kind of films because the 90s, you know, I have been, even now, I rewatch David Dhawan films. I remember dialogues from David Dhawan films,
mm,
you know, Hasina Maan Jayegi and all. I mean, so on my set, I have few people who are, big 90s fans. So we keep, you know, talking about the dialogues in each film, about the songs in those films. It's just something, and I want to do that. I want to make something like that. But people have to trust me enough to make with their money to do that.
mm. Right.
And I want to do that. And comedy like this, the films that I make come easier to me. I mean, comedy will require more hard work, more effort. I admire Anis Bazmi for the work that he does.
Amazing.
Really admire him because he hits the spot every time. Uh, you know, so I really admire his work. And by the way, I believe he's from Gujarat.
He is correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely, he is. Yeah.
yeah.
I think also comedy is a very tough genre to master. I
To
find.
write, so because he writes his films, directs them, and with big stars, and always hits the target.
Hmm. But I think commercialism, I'm glad we're talking about this. And I'm not going to mention Buckingham Murders here because I think Ekta gave a very befitting reply on I think on the trailer launch where someone had asked her about the commercial side of things. And I can't exactly remember what she said verbatim, but um I think for you though, there's always been this very interesting fusion, so to speak. Like you've always had like even a film like City Lights, for example. You had Muskurane Ki Wajah Tum Ho, which was a very I mean, it was as commercial as it got that song. And in different films, you've had your commercial sort of. I mean, in Scoop, you made even just not Scoop, sorry. In Scam, you also had the anthem, which became an absolute viral sensation at that point. So you've always had this very sort of particular, I would say, a little fusion of like commercialism, marketing, and all of that, as well as the real hard stories that you want to tell artistically as well. But in that sort of fusion, in that sort of collaboration, do you feel like there's ever been a time where you've got lost as a filmmaker of trying to get it right? Has there ever been a moment where you've not in a way had an imposter syndrome, but just felt very lost amidst all of that?
No, I actually, you see, I made a film 24 years ago called Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar
Hmm.
with Manoj Bajpayee and Tabu. Now, that film was written without a single song.
Hmm.
And it had ultimately, because Manoj had become major star that time, so my co-producers became very greedy, said we need music. So Vishal was a very close friend of mine, is my closest friend even now in the industry, Vishal Bhardwaj. So he was fresh of the success of Matches and couple of and Satya and all that.
Hmm.
So Vishal gave me like five blockbuster songs for the film. The music was really good, and it really did well that time. Dil Pe, the title track, Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar Mar Jayenge, sung by Asha Bhosle. But that experience scarred me because the film did not need those songs. And every time I look back at the film, I feel that the songs were so unnecessary. And but I caved into the pressure of having songs, and we selected good songs. They were well written also. Abbas Tayarwala
Hmm.
wrote the songs. They were well written songs. They were very beautiful compositions, everything. But somehow they were in the wrong film. So that scarred me. Uh, I mean, after that, even then, after that, I made a film called Chal,
Oh yeah,
uh,
remember
and
that.
Chal had this fantastic soundtrack by Viju Shah. So the title track of Chal, even today, it sounds contemporary.
Hmm.
It's a very contemporary, very cool track. It's got all these the Viju Shah, the electronic and the jazz and all that mixed together. It's really brilliant. You know, but I've always had good music, but sometimes I try to hold myself back because when I made City Lights, a lot of people complained that there were too many songs, too much music in the film. That
Hmm.
it sort of overpowered the tragedy that I was and the realism that I was portraying in the film. They felt it overpowered that. So I've I think Buckingham Murders, that way I've sort of balanced it out. There's basically two songs, but one Bali Sagu song because it's sort of again very representative of Britain. It's the Britain I used to know,
Yeah, yeah,
Bali
yeah.
Sagu.
Correct. Yeah.
So it sort of introduced me to that whole underground, the Punjabi underground. It was Bali Sagu, and when I contacted Bali and he gave me the song, I was very thrilled
Hmm.
that I could, get one of his songs. And then there was a song which Karan Kulkarni composed, which is sung by Rekha Bhardwaj.
Oh yes. Hmm.
And that's a beautiful song, lovely melody, Alki Khanaksi. So that song, I messaged Rekha on the day we finished mixing the film. And I said, we've been friends for 30 years, such
Hmm.
close friends, and this is the first time you've sung in my film.
Hmm. Wow.
And I mean, it's again. I hope that song is heard by people. It's a soulful song. We underestimate the power of soulful songs, but we don't realize that they are the ones that last forever.
Hmm.
They're there forever. Like you have in the end credits, you have
Oh
this
yeah.
song by B Prak, which is when Kumar Taurani sent us the song, he sent us the original song, and a lot of people said, "Hey, इस film में कैसे आएगा?" You know, Yaad. The song is called Yaad.
From
It's
Bewafa.
from
Hmm.
Bewafa. And then he sent me this version which was sung by B Prak. And I'm quite a B Prak fan.
Hmm.
Okay, quite a B Prak fan. I love his songs, because they instantly. I mean, there's something about his songs that they hit you. They move you very directly. There's very direct communication that he has with you through his
Hmm.
singing.
Hmm.
And he had sung this song. It's a ballad version of that song, and I loved it. The lyrics also were reconstructed, the new lyrics, which Kumarji only commissioned. And he asked me, "के आप use करोगे क्या?" I said, "I want to use it. बहुत अच्छा गाना है."
Hmm.
So in the Hindi version of the film, one of the things that has changed in the version is instead of Rekha's song in the end, you have the B Prak song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but I think the song is phenomenal. A lot of people keep looking at me, "Yeah, really, you really like it?" I said, "Yeah, it's a fantastic song."
it's a good song. No, it's a really
Yeah,
good song. I remember.
and I'm not afraid of. See, the thing is, some people in trying to be very, I don't know what to call it. It's almost classist. That, oh, B
Elitist.
Prak is below me. I'm so evolved. I'm not.
Hmm.
For me, music has to touch me. It has to move me. It has to be beautiful.
Hmm.
And so, what touches me, what I enjoy, is what I give to the people. I don't really care about what people think about that.
True. I mean, I think one of the most underrated songs, I think, of your albums, period, I think for me is Darbadar from City Lights. I mean, it was beautiful, like such a beautiful song.
It's a very difficult melody. I mean, the one who could really sing it was only Niti Mohan. She could get the entire song right. We tried so many singers, but they were not able to get the scale of the song.
And ironically, actually, City Lights celebrates 10 years this year as well, which is
Oh
amazing.
wow! Okay,
Just to throw it out there.
it's already done. I think it
Uh,
released in May, 31st of May.
uh, uh.
Yeah, so 10 years. I think I actually try not to look back at my work. Anuj. I try not to look back because it sort of slows you down. It makes you either wallow in self pity or self
Hmm.
glory. You start glorifying yourself. So I've moved on so much. Like sometimes I forget the scenes from my films and people remind me. So yeah, it was there. Okay, I have to sort of jog my memory
Hmm.
about these films. I don't watch my films after I finished uh, checking the print.
Right.
I don't go to cinemas. Don't watch the film. I don't watch previews
Oh,
of
so
my
how
films. No.
so obviously then how do you learn from that then? I mean, as a filmmaker, because I think it would be very interesting to know because see, I mean from my understanding, when I've interviewed a lot of filmmakers, they've been very critical of their own work actually.
Right.
How do you
So,
evolve and sort of improve from that then?
well, of course I watch my films much later sometimes, but by the time I've checked the print of my film, I know the film, and then once the film is released, you sort of look back at the film, and then you learn to move on. So what I try to do is move on, rather than you learn from you learn from life, not from films.
Hmm.
You learn from life, you move on, you try to go afresh into a new story. That's why if you look at Buckingham Murders and you look at Faraaz,
Hmm.
they look like completely different units.
Yeah.
The entire cinematic style, the entire uh, presentation of the story is completely different, and that's the joy. That's the fun. I mean, between Scam and Scoop, there's difference in style. Scam is it's very high energy, high, high voltage, whereas Scoop is very classic.
Hmm.
It's very classic. It's very smooth. It's very sophisticated in the way.
Very
It has been
enigmatic
shot.
also. There's a lot of mystery.
Yeah, mystery, and there's a little bit of elegance in the way it has been shot. Smooth, flowing camera movements.
Hmm.
So, with each, so that happens when you approach everything with a fresh mind and you don't carry the baggage of your previous work, whether it's success or failure. Both become baggage. That I don't want to do that
Hmm.
because you failed. No, if it works again, why not? Which is why I don't look back. That if Simran failed for some reason, I don't. I'm not running away from comedy because of that.
Yeah.
The only thing I know very well that I don't think I will do in this lifetime is horror.
Hmm. Really? Why is that?
I don't watch horror films. The only horror film I have watched perhaps in the past was Exorcist, and then after that it was Three. I
Ah,
don't
nice.
think I watched anything in between.
But you could do a horror comedy though. I mean, those are doing really well
No,
right now.
it's not something. I don't understand the genre, and I don't. That's the only thing I. Uh, when somebody even talk, nobody comes to me with it in the first place. People don't come to me with a comedy. They don't come to me with a love story. And I mean, I will make the best love story India has ever seen. I promise you that.
Oh
If I
wow.
get an opportunity to make the damn thing.
Oh, amazing. That's amazing. Well, no, I think I'd definitely love to see that. But I know you've said this before, but contrary to that, I actually really loved Simran. I have to be honest. I really enjoyed Simran. I genuinely thought it was, again, I think because it was the first time we saw like a Gujarati diaspora story, and I think that's why I could really relate with it. And also, I mean, Kangana for me was incredible in the film as an
It's
actor.
incredible. My only problem with the film was it had a bit like the diaspora, it had a bit of a confused identity.
Huh. Hmm.
At times it played in this very realistic tone.
Hmm.
At times it was this hyper realistic drama, and
Hmm.
at times it was this fantasy. So it did not stick to one specific uh, format, and I think that was the result of you know too many too many minds at work, too many clashing ideas at work, which should not have happened before we like all that those clashes should have happened before we went to make the film.
Hmm. Right.
And I think if it was one film, it was one film, one voice, it would have been perhaps a landmark film.
I
Because it
think
had all the ingredients. It had all the ingredients. It had the story. It had one of India's best actresses. We had a great backdrop. It had a great crew. Everything was in its favor, except the fact that there were too many ideas.
hmm.
It was too much of a coalition government.
Correct. That's brilliant. Right. I think on a final segment, actually, because one thing that I've always admired about you is your non-partisan take on otherwise very controversial characters, on characters that would often be villainized quite a lot. And I think the subject you've taken up in your next series, Gandhi, is I would definitely say I mean he's a contested figure. I mean there's a section of people that absolutely revere him. They call him the Mahatma. And then of course there are a big section who hate him, who despise him and have a lot of issues with him. And you can kind of understand both the sides to be fair. But I think I'm really curious to know a bit more about you as an individual when making this because you said to me as well earlier that it's going to be like a Gujarati family story. You've chosen to really humanize the aspect rather than glorify the aspect from what I'm understanding. For you as a filmmaker, especially when taking up a subject like Gandhi, which again is very controversial in many ways and contested, how important is it for you as a filmmaker, number one, not to judge and not allow personal emotions or your views or anything like that to really impair you in your duty and your dharma as a filmmaker?
So, firstly, I'm not allowed to talk too much about Gandhi. But yeah, it's because the early days. It's early days. I'm still in post production. But what I will say is this: people who deify him, people who demonize him, both of them don't know enough about Gandhi. And the result, it's because we have not had the opportunity to understand him on a personal level.
Hmm.
So this is a deep dive. It's a personal. it's an epic, but within that epic form, there's a personal journey. It's a very, very personal journey. So, and that's what I do. I mean, for me, it's a personal journey. It could be fiction for all I care,
Hmm.
but it's I've tried to explore this character as a human being. So it's, and then I had actors who absolutely helped me do that. Somebody like Pratik, Bhamini, who
Hmm.
plays Kasturba. I mean, brilliant. And the ensemble again, Mukesh, Shabra, and Shakira Dowling, same team. I mean, the kind of ensemble we've gathered and the kind of actors. We finished filming the show just a month ago, and it's been a epic shoot, but it's also been like very, very satisfying.
Hmm.
And I'm waiting for the world to see it. I'm right now in post production. A lot of work on post production at the moment.
I think I'm really excited to see Tom Felton, to be honest, as well in the show. In the show, I mean, I was really
He's lovely. I'll tell
pleasantly.
you this much. He's lovely. He's lovely.
So Tom Felton is Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter. So when I saw
Yes,
the
of course.
announcement, I was like, "Wow, from Harry Potter to Hansel Mehta, this is pretty amazing." I love.
Yeah, no, no, we met. So when I had my first meeting with Tom, I my daughters started video calling me. They were like so fascinated that you're meeting Draco Malfoy. They thought that no, Draco will not work with you, and they were so fascinated by this whole thing. And uh, everybody, I mean, all the children in our unit, all the people who are Potterheads,
Hmm.
were totally like fascinated that okay, you've got. And then somebody in India said, "Okay, now Draco Malfoy is going to say 3 guna lagan dena padega." But that's not. I I cannot see my international characters performing that way. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't definitely don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's completely possible. But I think, look, coming back to my original question then, and since you can't speak too much about Gandhi, which is fair enough, I understand. But I think if you could extend that to your other works, because again, you've often had these characters which are otherwise very much judged and villainized, right, in the public domain. I mean, of course, I mean, Omerta is of course a terrorist. I mean, the character is a terrorist, so it's no doubts again why that is the case. But in Scoop, for example, in Shahid, for example, I think these would be really nice, interesting. I'd love to hear your perspective on that about.
Even the professor in Aligarh,
Yes,
all
exactly.
demonized, all demonized. But yeah, I mean, I think to tell stories of people at the fringes, people who are judged otherwise by society, without judgment, to tell the story as it is, I think it's important. It's important uh, as a storyteller for me to give you a story that is not colored by
Hmm,
my judgment or or society's judgment.
hmm,
Because that storytelling sort of almost gives you an understanding into the times that we live in.
hmm,
And I think in from of course I want to engage, I want to entertain, all those things that I want to do with my films, but I believe I chronicle our times through
hmm,
these characters. And if you have to chronicle your times in a fair manner, then they have to be completely uh, I think then I cannot judge my characters. Otherwise you run the risk of having something that will ultimately uh, be an interpreted, uh, reimagined history of our uh, times in the future.
hmm.
Rewritten, reimagined because of what you have done. So I try not to do that. I mean, it's not. I'm not perfect, but I try not to do that. Try not to judge my characters.
Wow. Wow. Well, look, I mean, I think it's always fascinating, and I'm sure after Buckingham Murders, we're definitely looking forward to some more brilliant work. And in fact, I actually think I told you this as well earlier. I really think Buckingham Murders can be a very good franchise for you because we've not had a middle ground, between UK and perhaps you could take it internationally to the international diasporas as well across different countries of the Indians there. I think that would be amazing as well. So I really hope that we see more contents transpiring post Buckingham Murders, especially act as a crossover between UK and India or other international and Indian sort of contents as well, you know?
Definitely, inshallah.
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. Okay, Hansel sir, thank you so much for giving me arguably perhaps your most candid interview yet. I think this is such a truly an honor for us, and it's always so fascinating to hear your perspectives as a filmmaker, as an artist, and heartiest congratulations on the Buckingham Murders, and I cannot wait to catch Gandhi super soon. And I'm sure we'll be in touch as well for that at some point. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you.